Chapter 8:17. Ha ha ha. Seriously, Su Yang's girlfriend is still here. How could he agree? That might not be the case. It's just a game. Xueluo is so generous. I'm sure she won't mind. Xueluo? Under the urging of the crowd, Ning Xueluo looked at Ning Shi in the corner and then at Su Yang, who looked troubled. She said calmly, "It's just a game. Of course I don't mind. Su Yang, make your own decision." Oh. I knew it. Su Yang, you're so lucky. You have such a considerate girlfriend. Su Yang looked at Ning Shi in the corner. After a while, he showed an embarrassed expression. Sorry. Ning Shi shrugged slightly and drank all 3 glasses of wine on the table neatly. Lu Jingli didn't even have time to stop her. Damn, I'm screwed. Suddenly, there was a hubbub and sigh. Damn. Another show of affection. I knew Su Yang wouldn't agree. He's already full of women. Other women are nothing. There were also some little actors who were jealous of Ning Shi who were whispering gloatingly, "Isn't she just a little beautiful? Does she really think that all men have to kneel down under her pomegranate skirt? Now she's rejected. It's so funny. Ning Shi is just a vase. Only those wretched men who only look at her beauty will like her, right? How can a rich man like Su Yang like her? Even if Ning Xueluo is not here, I don't think he will agree. It's degrading to have a relationship with a small star who relies on her beauty." Ning Xueluo looked at Su Yang and was touched. She said softly, "I thought you. Brother Yang, you don't have to do this. I know it's just a game. I won't mind." Su Yang glanced at Ning Shi, who was holding her forehead in the corner. Although he looked a little guilty, he still said firmly, "I've always regarded Ning Shi as my younger sister and wanted to take care of her, but I definitely wouldn't do such a thing. Even if you understand, I don't want you to misunderstand." Brother Yang. Next, Ning Xueluo was also picked. Ning Xueluo chose Dare and was asked to kiss any man on the field. Needless to say, Ning Xueluo chose Su Yang. As a result, the handsome man and beautiful woman who were kissing passionately were teased by the crowd. Originally, Ning Shi was only asked to play the game. Now, it seemed like she wanted to suck up to Su Yang, but ended up being slapped in the face. The atmosphere was a little strange. Unfortunately, at this time, Ning Shi miserably drew imp again. The one who drew the big ghost was a drunk little supporting actress. She mumbled, "Ning Shi, truth or dare?" After drinking 3 glasses of wine, Ning Shi drank too fast and too hastily. She was about to tell the truth, but when the words truth were on the tip of her tongue, she actually said dare. He wanted to correct himself, but it was too late. The supporting actress giggled and said, "Aya, I drank too much. I really can't think of anything else for you to do. Why don't we do the same as before? However, in order to avoid awkwardness, I won't choose the people in our room. Later, when the first person comes in, you can just ask him for a kiss tilde." Chapter 8:18. Oh, by the way, not the same gender. It has to be the opposite gender, the supporting actress added. Hearing this, everyone became even more excited. What if it's an ugly and wretched man? Ha ha ha, I won't be that unlucky, right? Ning Shi didn't know how to comment. It would be awkward to choose the person in the room, but wouldn't it be awkward to choose the stranger who would come in later? However, there was no other way. This was the rule of the game, so they could only continue. At this moment, although the people in the private room were still playing, everyone's mind was clearly focused on who would come in later. The hotel was the most lively at this time. Every room had people who found the wrong place, or drunkards who entered the room by mistake. Just now, several of them had already entered. However, for some reason, no one came in this time, not even the waiters. If no one comes in after 10 minutes, this round is over, right? Finally, someone suggested. How can that be? If no one comes in after 10 minutes, then choose one of our rooms. Hey, that's a good idea. The supporting actress who had drawn the big ghost just now nodded in agreement. Of course, if you want to choose from the room, you have to choose the opposite gender. Seeing that the 10 minutes were about to pass, it seemed that it was time to choose a person in the room. Ning Shi's eyes began to wander around the room. It would be easy if she could choose anyone, but the requirement was that it had to be the opposite gender. Letting her choose herself was better than waiting for the first person to come in later. After all, if she chose herself, it would be director, producer. These people with sensitive identities were definitely out of the question. Lu Jingli, Jiang Mui. Definitely not. Su Yang, needless to say. As for the other male leads, male actors, and crew members, Ningxi looked around one by one, but in the end, she couldn't choose a single person. My head hurts. Sensing Ningxi's gaze in the room, most of the men in the room began to get restless. Ha ha ha. I wonder who will have the honor of being chosen by Beauty Ning tonight. I bet on Jiang Mui. I've long felt that there's something wrong with these two. Why not Lu Jingli? This is a good chance to please the boss. Could it be Su Yang? Su Yang rejected the beauty's face just now. Maybe she won't be satisfied and will ask again. There's still our male lead, Zhao Xizhou. There were more and more whispers in the private room. Almost everyone had been guessed. Ningxi's brain was about to explode. The supporting actress took a look at her mobile phone. Ningxi, 10 minutes are almost up, but no one is coming. How about you choose one of the private rooms? In the corner, Jiang Mui curled his lips and muttered in a low voice, or I'll just suffer for a while. In fact, he just said it casually. He knew that Ningxi didn't want to have a scandal with him, so she wouldn't choose him. However, if she chose someone else, she would be taken advantage of. You might as well choose him. Lu Jingli glared at Jiang Mui and looked at the time on his watch. What's the hurry? There's still 1 minute left. At this moment, Lu Jingli looked calm, but his heart was actually on the verge of breaking down. Fuck, it's over, it's over. God bless. If he let little 1111 kiss someone else, he would definitely die here today. Die without a burial. Chapter 8:19. Isn't it time yet? I have a timer. The supporting actress looked at her phone. Oh, it's almost time. 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 8 seconds. Ningxi hugged her aching head. I admit defeat. Damn it, she should just admit defeat and drink. However, before Ningxi could say the word admit defeat, the heavy metal door of the private room was suddenly pushed open from the outside. In an instant, everyone's eyes fell on the golden door, their eyes filled with the light of gossip. Damn it. Someone finally came in. A guest who went the wrong way. Or a drunkard. A waiter. Or some other crew member who came late. First, they saw a slender finger pushing the door open. Their eyes followed the finger up to the low-key but luxurious obsidian cufflinks and a grey tie with dark patterns. Finally, they saw the man's face clearly. His facial features were as sharp as a knife, his eyebrows were like distant mountains, his nose was straight, his lips were tight, and his face was sculpted by God's extreme favor. The private room swayed. In the dim light and dirty air, the man was like a gust of wind that came from a land of ice and snow. His gaze was cold and clear, and his temperament was cold. He stood there quietly, and his gaze moved slightly, sweeping across everyone. It was just a meaningless gaze, but it could make people uncontrollably feel a sense of reverence that they did not dare to look straight at. That was the kind of pressure that only people in high positions could have. Looking at the man who came in, Ningxi blinked her eyes, thinking that she was hallucinating. Boss? In an instant, everyone in the private room was stunned. Who was this man? Guo Qixing and Wang Taihe knew each other, but because they didn't expect him to come, they were too surprised. Brother. Lu Jingli, who was silently praying, almost cried with joy when he saw the man at the door. Damn it. He came at the right time. Thank goodness, I'm still alive. Jiang Mui was stunned, and a trace of sadness flashed across his eyes. However, his face relaxed a little. In this way, Ningxi wouldn't be put in a difficult position. Those who were immersed in the man's imposing manner and didn't know the truth suddenly woke up when they heard Lu Jingli call him brother. What? Brother? What did Lu Jingli just call that man? This person was Lu Jingli's older brother. Wasn't that Lu Group's president, Lu Tingxiao? The director seemed to want to invite him over tonight, but they didn't manage to invite him. Brother, you're here. Come in. Lu Jingli hurriedly strode over and welcomed him in. The director and producer also came to their senses and hurriedly went up to him in fear and trepidation. Mr. Lu, you're so busy. I didn't expect you to come tonight. What an honor. Come in, come in. Holy shit. It really was Lu Tingxiao. But it was no wonder. Apart from Lu Tingxiao, who else could have such an aura? The first person to enter was actually Lu Tingxiao. For a time, everyone looked at each other in dismay, and their expressions were somewhat strange. This Ningxi was too unlucky. The first was Su Yang, and the second was even worse. It was Lu Tingxiao. There was no need to ask to know the result. He would definitely be rejected on the spot. Perhaps he might even think that he was trying to get close to her and cause her to feel bad for him. Chapter 820. One had to know that Lu Tingxiao had never been close to women. What he hated the most were those women who came up to him and tried to please him. He wouldn't give them any face, no matter whether they were beautiful or not. But this was such a good opportunity to get close to Lu Tingxiao. Even if she knew she would be rejected, she wouldn't give it up. Ning Xueluo's eyes had a gleam and she couldn't help looking forward to it. Ningxi was going to be humiliated tonight. Ningxi, hurry up. Someone in the corner reminded her in a low voice. Then, Ningxi was pushed to Lu Tingxiao by several actresses. Hearing this and noticing that everyone looked strange, Lu Tingxiao glanced at Ningxi, asking, "What's wrong?" Ningxi was obviously drunk. Her cheeks were flushed and her eyes looked a little drowsy. Lu Tingxiao frowned imperceptibly. Director Guo Chisheng coughed lightly. It's nothing, it's nothing. We were just playing a game, Lu Tingxiao asked. Game? Lu Jingli touched his nose, pointed at Ningxi and explained, we're playing truth or dare. This girl has been chosen and wants to kiss the first man who comes in. If she fails, she will be punished. Brother, you're the first one to come in. Lu Tingxiao's expression instantly changed. No wonder Lu Jingli was so anxious to get him here in 10 minutes. What if he couldn't make it? Then Ningxi, sensing his brother's coldness, Lu Jingli shrunk his neck in fright. Ningxi raised her head and stared blankly at the handsome face of the great demon king. Hey, hey, hey. I really want to hug and kiss him. No, no. Ningxi controlled the impulse to jump on him with her last bit of rationality. She remembered the rules of the game and that they were strangers. The outside world didn't know their relationship. According to the plot, she should be rejected. So Ningxi coughed lightly, pretended to be an actress that Lu Tingxiao didn't know, gave him a hint, and then walked over in fear and trepidation. She greeted Lu Tingxiao respectfully and then said in a trembling voice, "Well, Mr. Lu, it's just a game. Don't mind me. I'll just drink." Ning Xueluo frowned and snorted. She was a little disappointed. She was smart. She knew that she would be rejected, so she backed down. However, even so, she could only barely save some face. Lu Tingxiao still rejected her in the end, didn't he? Hearing Ningxi's words, Su Yang unconsciously clenched his fists and slowly relaxed. With that, Ningxi bent over and picked up a glass of wine from the tea table. Just as he was about to pour it in, he suddenly lost control of his hand. Lu Tingxiao didn't know when he had grabbed her hand, took the glass of wine from her hand, and placed it back on the coffee table. Following that, his large palm covered her waist, and under her somewhat confused gaze, he suddenly leaned over and kissed her lips. In an instant, the entire room was filled with the sound of people sucking in cold air. Someone's wine glass fell to the ground, making an ear-piercing sound. Even Ningxi was dumbfounded. Damn it! What did the devil do? Didn't she hint at him? Didn't he understand? Chapter 821. At this moment, everyone in the room finally came back to their senses. Damn it! What just happened? Lu Tingxiao kissed Ningxi. Ningxi actually succeeded in kissing him? No, Ningxi didn't even open her mouth. She probably knew it was impossible, so she admitted defeat. But Lu Tingxiao still kissed her. The moment Ning Xueluo saw this scene, she almost crushed the wine glass in her hand. At that moment, she heard a crisp sound. It was the wine glass in Su Yang's hand that accidentally fell to the ground. Sorry. I need to go to the bathroom. Su Yang hurriedly got up and walked out of the room. Noticing Su Yang's reaction, Ning Xueluo's face darkened. Su Yang. What did he mean? Why was he so excited to see another man kissing Ningxi? She thought she had Su Yang firmly in her palm. She thought Su Yang only felt guilty towards Ningxi. But at this moment, she suddenly felt a sense of crisis. At this moment, what worried her the most was Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao actually kissed Ningxi. How was that possible? Ignoring everyone's shocked expression, Lu Tingxiao sat down on the sofa with a blank expression after the kiss, as if he had done nothing. Seeing Ningxi still staring at him with a frightened expression, Lu Tingxiao looked up coldly. Anything else? Ningxi covered her mouth and shook her head like a rattle drum. Then she stood at attention, turned around, and sat down on the sofa obediently. Jiang Mui's hands clenched into fists, and he lowered his eyes to avoid eye contact. The seriously injured Lu Jingli covered his chest and squeezed to Lu Tingxiao's side. Brother, move over there. Originally, there was still some distance between Lu Tingxiao and Ningxi. After Lu Jingli squeezed over, Lu Tingxiao naturally moved to the side and sat next to Ningxi. Ah! Ha ha! Mr. Lu really has tender feelings for the fairer sex. Beauty Ning finally succeeded this time. Everyone said one after another to liven up the atmosphere. At the same time, some people secretly whispered to each other, "What is Lu Tingxiao trying to do? What else can he mean? He has tender feelings for the fairer sex once in a while. He's a man. Isn't that normal?" Of course it's normal for other men, but it's shocking that it happened to Lu Tingxiao. What's wrong with Lu Tingxiao? Lu Tingxiao was also a man. How many men could control a beauty like Ningxi? Take a guess, if Ning Xueluo wasn't there, would Su Yang have given up such a good opportunity to kiss her? TSK, this. Indeed, it's hard to say. In the private room, everyone had their own thoughts, but Ningxi sat there obediently from beginning to end. She was pretending to be a bunny when she suddenly felt a warm palm on her thigh. Ningxi's back stiffened. She immediately turned to glare at Lu Tingxiao and reached out to hold his hand. What are you doing? Lu Tingxiao supported his forehead with one hand, looking like an immortal banished from the 9 heavens. He sat there with a noble and elegant demeanor, but in private, he held her little hand and squeezed it in his palm, gently or heavily, without letting go. Ningxi tried a few times but failed. She could only let him squeeze her hand, covering it carefully with her skirt. Because of her guilty conscience, her little heart was beating fast. Damn it. Now I really feel like I'm having an affair. Chapter 822. After Lu Tingxiao came in, the originally lively atmosphere in the private room was immediately restrained. It was so quiet that it didn't look like a party, but more like a company meeting. However, Lu Tingxiao, the instigator of all this, did not seem to be aware that he was the cause of all this. He sat there calmly, holding his wife's little hand in private, admiring her little face of being angry but not daring to say anything, leisurely and contented. Cough, that, don't stop, continue. After the crisis was resolved, Lu Jingli immediately revived on the spot and began to get excited again. Anyway, with her brother around, Xiao 1111 would definitely not be at a disadvantage. She could have fun as much as she wanted. Tilda after being coaxed by Lu Jingli, everyone immediately relaxed a lot. As they were playing, Su Yang came back. After sitting down beside Ning Shui, he couldn't help but look at Ningxi from the corner of his eyes. The girl seemed to be a little afraid of Lu Tingxiao. She lowered her head and sat there quietly. She was even a little reserved. Her cheeks were red because of the wine. It seemed that she was shy because of the kiss just now. At this moment, Ningxi's expression was like a sharp arrow that shot into Su Yang's heart. Since Ningxi returned to China, she seemed to have changed into a different person. He couldn't remember how long it had been since he last saw her so obedient and timid. Back then, Ningxi was still a little girl. Whenever she saw him, she would blush. She didn't even dare to look into his eyes when she spoke. But now, 5 years later, he finally saw the Ningxi he was familiar with, not because of him, but because of another man. Could it be that she had feelings for Lu Tingxiao? Ha ha ha. Senior Jiang, you've fallen into my hands again. Truth or dare? Jiang Mui was in a bad mood, so he said casually, dare. Senior Jiang, I like your personality. Then listen carefully. Please take off your shirt and do 10 sets of push-ups facing the A of the club. Oh. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone was so excited that they almost tore the roof off. Push-ups. Ha ha ha. Everyone revealed a meaningful expression. Ao. Club A. Who's the A of clubs? He's too lucky with women. Could it be a man? Ha ha ha. In the corner, Ningxi's face darkened. Damn it, she had drawn an A of clubs. What to do? Ningxi glanced at the great demon king subconsciously. Noticing the girl's gaze, Lu Tingxiao lowered his eyes and saw the ace of clubs in Ningxi's hand. Hey! Where was Plum Blossom A? Come out. Everyone was already urging her. Ningxi was about to raise her hand when her hand suddenly became empty. The next second, the card in her hand had changed from an ace of clubs to an 8 of diamonds. No wonder Plum Blossom A didn't say anything. It's you, second young master. Lu Jingli looked bitterly at his brother who had swapped his cards. Fuck. How could he screw over his own brother like that? Forget it. Who asked him to play truth or dare on purpose? Lu Jingli shrugged his shoulders at Jiang Mui and said, bring it on. Everyone roared with laughter. Jiang Mui was sitting next to Lu Jingli. He had already seen Lu Jingli's card. It wasn't an ace of clubs at all, but now it had become an ace of clubs. He didn't need to guess to know who the real ace of clubs was. In the end, Jiang Mui admitted defeat. He picked up the wine on the table and drank 3 glasses. Seeing this, everyone was disappointed. Alas, there was no good show to watch. Chapter 823. In the middle of the game, Ningxi was picked once again. Truth or dare? Ningxi hesitated for a moment. Truth. That person seemed to be waiting for Ningxi to tell the truth. He stole a glance at Lu Tingxiao and asked excitedly, how did you feel when Mr. Lu kissed you just now? Ningxi was speechless. Damn it, truth was indeed more dangerous than dare. As soon as this question came out, the eyes of all the girls in the room lit up like 500-watt light bulbs. They were obviously very interested in this question. When Lu Tingxiao kissed Ningxi just now, they were already going crazy with jealousy, especially the little supporting actress who proposed to let Ningxi kiss the first man who entered the box. She regretted it so much that her intestines turned green. She had created such a good opportunity for another woman. For a moment, everyone's eyes fell on Ningxi. Lu Tingxiao held a glass of red wine in his hand. Although he didn't deliberately look at anyone, it was obvious that his attention was on her. After hesitating for a long time, Ningxi bit the bullet and answered, to be honest, it was too sudden just now. I didn't have time to feel it. What? It must be the truth. Yeah. You really didn't feel it. It's not that I didn't feel it. I mean, I didn't have time to feel it. I really mean it. Ningxi explained helplessly. Everyone had no choice but to let her go this time. She finally dodged a bullet. She felt an itch in her palm. Lu Tingxiao's fingertips seemed to be rubbing against her palm. Ningxi glared at him. What was he doing now? Lu Tingxiao didn't say anything. He just looked at her with an unusually deep gaze. Next, Ning Xueluo was picked. Xueluo, truth or dare? Chang Li asked. Dare, Ning Xueluo said with relief. Because Chang Li was the one who got the big ghost, she definitely wouldn't let her do anything overboard. Then, Chang Li said, my request is to sing a song with the King of Spades. This dare wasn't exciting at all, and no one paid much attention to it. But the King of Spades turned out to be Lu Tingxiao. Lu Jingli was prepared to let his brother do the same thing, but Chang Li noticed it first. Aya, the King of Spades is Mr. Lu. When the crowd saw this, they all looked at him enviously. I really want to hear Mr. Lu sing. It was just singing a song together, and it was a game. This couldn't be more normal. Su Yang definitely wouldn't have any problems. This was undoubtedly a good opportunity to build a relationship with Lu Tingxiao. Ning Xueluo smiled and stood up gracefully. She looked at Lu Tingxiao and said, Mr. Lu, why don't you order some? Ning Xueluo was glad that her singing was not bad. Everyone thought that Lu Tingxiao would definitely agree. After all, he had agreed to Ningxi's kiss. There was no reason for him to refuse a song. Chang Li had already eagerly handed the microphone over to him. In the end, Lu Tingxiao didn't even raise his hand as he spat out 2 words from his thin lips, "No." For a moment, Chang Li's flattering smile froze on her face. Ning Xueluo, who was about to sing, also stood awkwardly in the middle of the room. How could he not know how to sing? He probably didn't want to sing with a female star like Ning Xueluo. For a moment, almost everyone was thinking the same thing. Chapter 824. Ning Xueluo had never expected that Lu Tingxiao, who had never been close to women, would kiss Ningxi, a lowly, third-rate female star who relied on her looks to climb up the social ladder, and yet refused to sing a song with her. Chang Li had thought that she had done a good job and was feeling proud of herself, but when she heard Lu Tingxiao's name, she didn't even dare to breathe loudly. She took the microphone and retreated awkwardly. "I see. Then I'll drink 3 glasses as punishment." Ning Xueluo had no choice but to pick up her glass. Originally, there was still a glimmer of hope that Lu Tingxiao would not have the heart to change his mind. However, Lu Tingxiao just sat there quietly without any change in his expression. "Xueluo can't drink, let me help her." Su Yang stood up, took the glass from Ning Xueluo's hand, and helped her drink the 3 glasses. The atmosphere eased a little, and Ning Xueluo wasn't as embarrassed as before. After all, Lu Tingxiao was a man of high status, and it was normal for him to refuse. Lu Tingxiao glanced at Su Yang, who had helped Ning Xueluo out of trouble, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Lu Jingli knew Lu Tingxiao the best, and he knew what he wanted to do with just one look. He rolled his eyes and immediately came up with an idea. His brother was obviously jealous of his rival in love, and he couldn't stand Su Yang, so he wanted to stand up for Ningxi. After a few rounds, Lu Jingli drew Big Ghost. He looked at his brother, who had drawn Little Wang, and said wickedly, "Brother, truth or dare?" Lu Tingxiao glanced at Lu Jingli. "Dare." Lu Jingli's eyes lit up when he heard that. Wow, how cooperative. Did he know that he was going to help? The others looked at the 2 brothers with interest. Lu Jingli loved to play around, and no one knew what he was going to do to his brother. But would he dare to mess with Lu Tingxiao? Ningxi also curiously held her chin and looked at Lu Jingli. Looking at Lu Jingli's expression, she knew he was going to cause trouble. Lu Jingli coughed lightly, then chuckled and said to Lu Tingxiao, "Bro, my request is very simple. I want you to sing a song with someone else. Among the people sitting here, you can choose anyone to sing with you." When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but laugh. Lu Tingxiao had already said that he didn't know how to sing and didn't want to sing with others. But now, Lu Jingli wanted him to find someone to sing with. Wasn't he trying to make him lose? However, this was not the end. Lu Jingli continued, "Also, I want to choose the song. He. I want you to sing Whirlpool with the person you choose." Everyone at the scene was silent for a few seconds before they all burst into laughter. Jiang Mui was speechless. Swirl. This second uncle of his had really lost all his integrity. Ningxi also held her forehead, as if she couldn't bear to look at it. Actually, this kind of song was just a little flirtatious in the lyrics. To her, it was child's play. However, if it was the abstinent Lu Tingxiao singing it. Oh my, no, I can't think about it anymore. Just the thought of Lu Tingxiao singing this song made her a little unable to control herself. When the others in the room thought of the lyrics of Whirlpool, they were all speechless. Second young master was too much. What the heck, he actually wanted Lu Tingxiao to sing a song as flirtatious as Whirlpool with someone else. Most importantly, it was too weird to sing this kind of song with a man. If he had to choose, he would definitely choose a woman, right? Chapter 825. Ning Xueluo had only asked to sing a normal song and Lu Tingxiao had rejected her. How could he agree to it this time? Everyone thought that the brothers were just fooling around and didn't take it seriously. Speaking of which, the 2 brothers were really close. Only Lu Jingli would dare to joke with Lu Tingxiao like that. Just as everyone was lamenting, Lu Jingli had already scampered over to pick the song Whirlpool, and then excitedly urged Lu Tingxiao, hurry up and choose someone. If you're not going to sing, then drink. 3 big glasses, not one less. Just then, the prelude of the music started. Lu Tingxiao straightened up slightly and reached for the coffee table. It looked like he was going to drink. Everyone looked as if they had expected this. However, the next second, Lu Tingxiao's fingers avoided the wine glass on the coffee table and picked up the microphone next to it. What was Lu Tingxiao going to do? Almost everyone straightened up slightly. Then, under countless burning gazes, Lu Tingxiao casually placed the microphone in Ningxi's hand. Ningxi! What the hell? What did he mean? Was the devil crazy? Was he really going to sing? And chose her to sing with him? Just then, everyone else was going crazy too. Fuck. Ningxi. What did Lu Tingxiao mean? Was he going to sing and chose Ningxi to sing with him? Just as everyone's jaws were about to drop, the prelude ended. Lu Tingxiao casually leaned back on the sofa, slightly raised the microphone in his hand, and opened his thin lips slightly. Following the curves you designed, turning and turning, falling into the eye of the storm. Everything in the world revolves around me, accompanying me, settling down for you. In the private room, a low, hoarse voice that sounded like a cello rang out. Fuck. Did Mr. Lu sing this? My ears are going to get pregnant. It's so good. Did he turn on the original? No. It's really Mr. Lu. Wow, Mr. Lu's voice is so sexy and charming when he sings. This subwoofer is going to knock Jiu Chi out. That's amazing. Didn't you say you couldn't sing? That's so good. Actually, I thought with Mr. Lu's personality, he really couldn't sing. It turns out that I was too naive. Seeing that it was a female voice, Ningxi missed half a beat because she was absent-minded. She had no time to think and hurriedly picked up the microphone, surpassing reason, surpassing nature, deceiving God to bring you to my side. Even if I love you to the point where you're torn to shreds, I'll still be there to receive you. When you fall to the heavens, just like you, if you're reduced to dust, who still wants to be whole? Come, sink in the depths of me. Along with Ningxi singing, there was another small-scale scream in the private room. The girl's voice was soft and affectionate, and the end of her voice was like a small hook. Ningxi seemed to be singing calmly, but in fact, his face was a little hot. Fuck. What did he mean by come and sink in my depths? The lyrics of this song were so shameful. Damn that Lu Jingli. Of course, if one didn't think too much about it, the lyrics weren't that big of a deal. However, was any of the people present pure and innocent? Then came the chorus. Lu Tingxiao and Ningxi's voices rang out at the same time. Come hug me, form a whirlpool, roll up the storm behind our passionate kiss. Ningxi, drown you together with the human world. Lu Tingxiao, I love you so much too. Chapter 8:26. The lyrics of this song were so ambiguous that Ningxi couldn't let it go at first. But later, maybe because of the alcohol and Lu Tingxiao's familiar and reassuring aura, she unconsciously relaxed. The more she sang, the better she was. The languid look on her face made people blush and their hearts beat faster. What was even more shocking was the coordination between the two of them. Wasn't it too tacit? The two of them didn't interact at all. They were just singing. They didn't even make eye contact. However, whether it was when they were singing, or the feeling and aura between them, it was like they were a couple in love. The natural tacit understanding, the sweetness, and the affection were so strong that it couldn't be dissolved. Lu Tingxiao was such a proud and aloof person, but at this moment, he seemed to have descended from heaven to the mortal world. Lu Tingxiao Ningxi, come hug me, kiss me from the tip of my toes, and your soul falls into the flood inch by inch. Lu Tingxiao, love is eating me away. Ningxi, like a heavenly net. Lu Tingxiao, regardless of the consequences. Ningxi, this is a disaster caused by greed. Finally, the song was over. Only then did everyone finally come back to their senses from the enchanting song. Lu Jingli was the first to applaud. I've finally heard you sing a song. Even though he already knew that his brother's voice was extremely sexy when he sang, he was still amazed by it this time. Jiang Mui also came to himself. It was the first time for him to hear Lu Tingxiao sing. He didn't expect that, with his personality, He would really sing a love song with Ningxi in front of so many people. Everyone applauded and complimented him. "Oh my God. Mr. Lu. You sang so well. How could you say you can't sing? You're too modest. You're so good at everything. I think I'd better go home and work in the field instead of in the entertainment circle." Ningxi sang well too. I didn't expect that Beauty Ning not only acts well, but also sings so well. The two of them cooperated so well. I feel like I'm in love. I feel that Mr. Lu is especially partial to Beauty Ning tonight. Ning Xueluo felt like she was being slapped in the face as she listened to the praises around her. Not only could Lu Tingxiao sing, but he also sang so well. He turned her down and turned around to sing a love song with Ningxi. It was like putting her face on the ground and stepping on it. Seeing his woman being slapped in the face in public, Su Yang was naturally displeased. But he couldn't do anything about it. She just didn't want to sing with him. How could he force her? Moreover, his mind was not on Ning Shui at this moment. His mind was filled with the scene of Ningxi singing with Lu Tingxiao. Wasn't the feeling between the two of them a little too unusual? It was like a pair of lovers in love. Chang Li coughed awkwardly and comforted her. "Shui Luo, don't be sad." Shengshe Entertainment is a subsidiary of Lu's group, and Ningxi is a member of Shengshe Entertainment. It's inevitable that Lu Tingxiao will defend her in public, Shui said. Ning Shui said. Shui Shui. Ning Shui Ti, she said. Tingle. Unable to accomplish anything, but more than enough to spoil things. Ning Xueluo was about to die from anger, but she still had to maintain her composure. However, when she turned around, she saw Su Yang staring at Ningxi. Instantly, the jealousy in her heart burned again. She was so angry that she was about to explode. Chapter 8:27. In the suburbs of the capital, in Ning Xueluo's new villa. Ning Xueluo held a glass of red wine in her hand and drank it angrily. She threw the glass to Chang Li and said with a dark expression, "Tell Su Yimo what happened tonight." Understood. Chang Li carefully took the glass and said tentatively, "Actually, it's just a social event. You don't have to be so nervous. Lu Tingxiao is probably just giving Lu Jingli face." Ning Xueluo glared at her impatiently. "Of course I know. Of course I know. Otherwise, why would Lu Tingxiao be interested in Ningxi?" Chang Li mumbled and didn't dare to speak. "Get lost. I'm annoyed to see you. Useless thing." Chang Li quickly ran away as if she had been pardoned. Ning Xueluo had been angered so much tonight that she almost exploded. Chang Li didn't want to stay here any longer. She was scolded when she did nothing, but she was still scolded when she did something. She didn't know what was going on recently, but it was as if she was possessed. Nothing went smoothly. After Chang Li left, Ning Xueluo drank the rest of the red wine in the bottle. Then, she went into the bathtub, took a petal bath, and changed into a thin nightgown. After that, Ning Xueluo lay on the spacious bed in the middle of the bedroom. She picked up her phone and made a call. "Hello, Xueluo?" A man's gentle voice came through the phone. "Brother Yang, it's already so late. Why aren't you sleeping? Brother Yang. Brother Yang. I feel terrible. Terrible? What's wrong? What's wrong? Terrible. So terrible. What should I do? I feel like I'm going to die. Don't talk nonsense. Where are you? Is there anyone home? I'm at the cottage in the middle of the lake. Stay here and don't move. I'll go find you right away." After the call, Ning Xueluo threw away the phone in her hand and took out a delicate crystal bottle from the drawer at the head of the bed. She poured the expensive essential oil in the bottle onto her palm and slowly applied it to every inch of her skin. Soon, the sound of a car engine could be heard outside the house, followed by the sound of hurried footsteps, approaching from afar. Xueluo. As soon as Su Yang opened the bedroom door, he was embraced by a warm and soft body. "Brother Yang." Ning Xueluo wrapped her arms around the man's waist as if she was hugging onto a life-saving straw. She looked as if she was about to lose everything. "Brother Yang. Do you not love me anymore?" Su Yang frowned. He carried her and placed her on the bed. "Why did you drink so much? Is that so? Do you not love me anymore?" Ning Xueluo raised her head and looked at him. A trace of helplessness flashed across Su Yang's face. How could that be? If I don't love you, who else can I love? Ning Xueluo looked at him, hurt. Ningxi. Do you still love Ningxi? Su Yang's face stiffened. Don't talk nonsense. Didn't I already tell you very clearly? Why are you letting your imagination run wild? No. It's not that I'm imagining things. Tonight, your eyes were on her the whole time. Ning Xueluo's face was filled with sorrow. Xueluo, you're thinking too much. I'm just worried that Ningxi will be taken advantage of, Su Yang explained. Taken advantage of? How could he lose out if he could get close to someone like Lu Tingxiao? I'm afraid she's looking forward to it. Su Yang, look at me seriously. Do you really only feel guilty towards her? Seeing her flirting with another man, you're just worried, not jealous? Chapter 828. Su Yang's eyes flickered, but only for a moment. Soon, he returned to normal. I'm just worried, not jealous. Have a good rest and don't worry anymore, okay? You are the only one in my heart. Don't you know that? Finally getting a positive answer, Ning Xueluo's eyes flashed with a trace of complacency. She took the initiative to put her arms around his neck and covered his lips. Brother Yang, hug me. The girl's hot breath was in his ear, and the smooth skin of her chest rubbed against his arm. He could smell a sweet fragrance that made him drown in it. Su Yang's lower body reacted almost immediately. However, for some reason, what came to his mind was not Ning Xueluo's face, but the scene of Ningxi being kissed by Lu Tingxiao, and the shy expression of the girl covering her face. The reaction of his lower body was even stronger, but his heart felt as if a basin of cold water had been poured over it. Thinking of the ambiguous relationship between Ningxi and Lu Tingxiao tonight, and comparing it with her indifference to him, Su Yang's heart was even colder. He completely lost the mood. He pulled down Ning Xueluo's arm and covered her with the quilt. You need to rest. You have to get up early tomorrow to catch up with the work. Have you forgotten? It's okay. I can push it off. You have. Ning Xueluo's little hand covered the man's swollen part like a snake. Su Yang stiffened his back and pressed her hand. I'm fine. Go to sleep. With that, he kissed her forehead, turned off the light for her, and gently closed the door. Outside the house, the sound of a car engine could be heard again. Ning Xueluo threw away the blanket on her body and stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. She looked at the car that drove away from the building. In the next second, she swept all the things on the dressing table to the ground. Ningxi. You bitch. Su Yang didn't touch her. Although his attitude towards her was still as gentle as ever, this was something that had never happened before. Especially at the moment when she kissed him, his eyes were not right at all. He was not thinking about her at all. Ningxi, that bitch, must have secretly seduced Su Yang. She might have even been in contact with Su Yang without her knowing. Damn it. Did she still think that she could get Su Yang back? Dream on. Nowadays, the Ning family and the Su family were intertwined. Too many businesses and projects were intertwined. Pulling one part would affect the whole. Su Yang couldn't leave her. After leaving the hut in the middle of the lake, Su Yang drove aimlessly along the road. Unknowingly, he found himself parked in front of the Pearl River Imperial View. He lit a cigarette and sat in the car for a while. In the end, he couldn't resist the urge that grew like weeds in his heart. He opened the car door and entered the building. Standing in front of Ningxi's apartment, Su Yang hesitated for a moment before pressing the doorbell. In the end, after pressing it several times, there was no response at all. Su Yang frowned. Did she fall asleep, or did she not come back at all? Meanwhile, inside a black Maybach that was driving slowly on the road, a girl's wild, runaway singing could be heard. The great river flows to the east. The stars in the sky join the Big Dipper. Hey, join the Big Dipper. Roar when you see injustice on the road. Make a move when it's time to make a move. Rush through the 9 provinces. Lu Tingxiao, who was driving, was speechless. Lu Jingli, who was sitting in the back seat, was speechless. Chapter 829. Ningxi stared at Lu Tingxiao discontentedly as she sang. Driver, open the window. No. Not that window. I want to open the sunroof. Sunroof. Open it now. Lu Tingxiao pinched between his eyebrows and pressed a button on the car. Instantly, the car turned into an open top. A gust of wind blew over. Ningxi leaned against the window with her arms outstretched. She was even more excited now. Man on the horse, you're mighty and majestic. The galloping horse is like a gust of wind. The boundless wilderness follows you wherever you go. Lu Jingli said, a soul singer is born. Brother Shi, have you ever thought about entering the music industry? Jiang Mui couldn't stand it anymore. Brother, that's enough. Don't be photographed by the reporters. Hearing this, Ningxi finally restrained herself a little. She hurriedly said, Master, close the window. Close the window. Lu Tingxiao gave her a doting look and said indulgently, it's okay. There are no reporters. Ningxi's eyes suddenly lit up and she began to let loose again. I've waited for 1,000 years. 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 I have no regrets. Who said love me forever. Just for this sentence. Aha. I have no regrets. Jiang Mui's face was full of despair. He regretted his decision to hitchhike. Lu Jingli burped. He looked like he had been through a lot and was used to it. Mandarin ducks and butterflies fly together. A garden full of beautiful spring scenery. Secretly ask the holy monk. Is my daughter beautiful? 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 Lu Tingxiao said, yes. Heh. Ningxi finally calmed down. Platinum Palace. As soon as they arrived, Lu Jingli and Jiang Mui, who had been stuffed with dog food for the whole night, immediately got out of the car and ran away. Lu Tingxiao parked the car and helped the drunk girl into the house. He helped her change her shoes and coat and wiped her face with hot water. Seeing the girl giggling, Lu Tingxiao's mood was also affected. He touched her cheek. Are you in a good mood? Ningxi immediately nodded, her eyes sparkling. Lord Boss, you really have a golden tongue. I've really waited for a better script. Grandpa had recovered, the studio was on the right track, and the new show that she had been dreaming of was finally settled. He couldn't remember how long it had been since he was so happy. Recalling that dark experience, it felt like it was a lifetime ago. Lu Tingxiao stared at the light in the girl's eyes. In the next second, he bent down and kissed her lips. Ooh. What are you doing? Why did they suddenly start kissing? Lu Tingxiao looked at her with a half smile. Didn't you say that it was too sudden and you didn't have time to feel it? Ningxi suddenly remembered the question someone asked her when they were playing Truth or Dare in the hotel room. The great Demon King's memory was simply amazing. He could still remember even now. How do you feel? Lu Tingxiao looked at her and asked again. Well. Ningxi blinked her eyes and thought seriously for a long time. Then she replied, what if I still don't feel it clearly? Lu Tingxiao chuckled and kissed her again. Ningxi was happily taking advantage of the great Demon King when she suddenly heard footsteps. She hurriedly pushed Lu Tingxiao away and jumped off the bed. Sure enough, it was the soft and adorable little bun who walked in with her slippers. After seeing Ningxi, the little bun probably thought she was dreaming. She stood there, rubbed her eyes, and then expressionlessly stretched out a little hand to pinch her little bun face. Chapter 830. Ningxi's heart almost melted when she saw the little girl standing there and pinching her own face. She immediately hugged the little fellow. Puff, baby, why are you so cute? I'm not dreaming. Feeling the real body temperature and soft hug, the little girl finally believed that it was really Aunt Xiaoxi. Her short hands grasped Ningxi's clothes tightly and stuck to her arms. At the same time, her grape-like dark eyes stared at Papa behind her vigilantly and confusedly. Papa secretly stayed with Mama without him again. Receiving his son's accusatory gaze, Lu Tingxiao smiled and rubbed his son's little head. I won't compete with you tonight. In order to make Aunt Xiaoxi's half-mother become a full mother, The little girl had indeed sacrificed a lot of time to stick to Ningxi. Lu Tingxiao tucked them in. Go to bed early. I still have something to deal with. Ningxi frowned. Why are you still working so late? Lu Tingxiao nodded. Yes, I have to make money to support my wife and children. Ningxi, Lu Tingxiao chuckled and kissed her forehead. Go to sleep. I'll be okay soon. After coaxing the little girl to sleep, Ningxi was about to turn off the light when her cell phone suddenly lit up. There was a call. Ningxi pressed the answer button before the phone rang, and then walked quietly to the balcony. Hello. Xiaoxi, where are you? Why didn't you go home? Su Yang's slightly anxious voice came from the other end of the phone. How do you know I didn't go home? Ningxi raised her eyebrows. I'm at the door of your apartment. Su Yang replied. What's up? Xiaoxi, where are you now? Su Yang asked. Where do you think I should be? Sleeping with a man? Ningxi gathered her coat and looked at the little girl on the bed. Her eyes were so gentle that she didn't feel anything when she heard Su Yang's questioning tone. Ningxi. Su Yang's tone immediately became stern. That's not what I meant. I just wanted to remind you to protect yourself, especially when it comes to Lu Tingxiao. Don't ever have any thoughts that you shouldn't have and get involved in this mess. I'm sure you know that Su Yimo from your company has always had an ambiguous relationship with him. I heard that the Lu family has already chosen a fiancé for him, not to mention that he has an illegitimate child. In order to prevent Ning Xueluo from misunderstanding him, Su Yang, the best boyfriend, was determined to cut ties with her. What was wrong with him tonight? Not only did he wait for her at her door, but he also called her in a hurry and said so much. Ningxi couldn't be bothered to think about what he wanted to do. She said faintly, Young Master Su, it looks like I need to remind you again that my matters are none of your business. Also, as for Lu Tingxiao, even if I have to sleep with him for one night, it's still better than marrying someone like you. Don't worry about it. With that, he hung up the phone. Su Yang looked at the phone that had been hung up, and his expression was extremely ugly. What did he mean by sleeping with Lu Tingxiao was better than marrying him? This was the biggest insult to a man. What's more, the person who said this was Ningxi, who used to worship him like a god. He was indeed not as powerful as Lu Tingxiao, but he was still one of the top figures in the capital. How could he be so unbearable in her heart? Chapter 831. Su Yang cursed in a low voice. With a gloomy face, he punched the car door. She had softened her attitude towards him a while ago. Why was she so cold and sharp now? He couldn't help thinking about Ningxi, who was so unpredictable and temperamental. His mind was full of thoughts and he couldn't control himself at all. The next morning, looking at the servants who kept carrying things in and out downstairs, Ningxi felt a little strange. What are they doing? Miss Xiaoxi, these are birthday gifts. Steward Yuan replied. Birthday gifts? Yes, it's Master's birthday soon. No wonder. Ningxi looked like she understood. Only the top celebrities would be invited to the birthday party. Those who were not qualified to be invited but wanted to curry favor with the Lu family would naturally take this opportunity to send all kinds of gifts. You're awake. Did you sleep well last night? Lu Tingxiao came out of the bedroom. Ningxi nodded and asked casually, Is your father's birthday coming soon? Yes. Ningxi scratched her hair and said with a frown, Does Xiaobao need to be present then? Lu Tingxiao knew what she was worried about and replied, 2 years ago, Xiaobao was not in a good state, so he didn't attend. This year, even if he goes, he will just show up. Ningxi was a little relieved. You must be very busy these days. I happen to be free in the morning. Can I send Xiaobao to school today? As soon as Ningxi finished speaking, her legs softened. Little Baozi, who was hanging on her leg, had already hugged her. He raised his head and his little face was shining. Obviously, he had heard that Aunt Xiaoxi was going to send him to school. After breakfast, Ningxi put on a long dress, a pink clip, put on a very gentle and virtuous makeup, and happily sent Xiaobao to school. Because Xiaoxi's mother was accompanying him, little Baozi was in a very good mood. He was always cold like a little robot with a rare soft smile on his face, which was very cute on the way to school. Several teachers couldn't help sighing. I thought Lu Qingyu was autistic. Isn't it good? Yes, but this child seems to be closer to his mother. The little Shota is really charming when he smiles. Sob sob sob, and he looks just like his mother when he smiles. I wonder how many girls will fall for him when he grows up. Speaking of which, why do I feel that Mrs. Lu looks a little familiar? Now that you mention it, I also feel that it's a bit like a celebrity who has just become popular recently. I know who you are talking about. Is it the female general who acted as a couple with Jiang Mui in Tianxia? I like her quite a lot. However, it should only be a slight resemblance. If you take a closer look at their temperament and style, they are not the same person. After sending Little Bun to the classroom, Ningxi bumped into Little Bun's teacher in the corridor. Hey, Mrs. Lu. Mr. Wang hurriedly stopped her. Ningxi turned around. Teacher Wang. Mrs. Lu, nice to see you. I wanted to talk to you. Do you have time now? Yes. Ningxi nodded hurriedly. She couldn't help but feel a little worried. She didn't know why Xiaobao's teacher suddenly looked for her. Did something happen to Xiaobao at school? Chapter 832. In the office. Mr. Wang poured a cup of tea for Ningxi and said tactfully, Mrs. Lu, here's the thing. There have been several tests in school. Have you seen Lu Qingyu's results? Yes. Ningxi nodded. Ms. Wang didn't know what to say when she saw Ningxi's calm reaction. She coughed lightly and said, Lu Qingyu scored 0 in all 3 subjects. Yes, I know that. And the point is, he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't even do a single question and handed in a blank paper. Even if he doesn't understand, he can't do a single question. Ms. Wang sighed and said, I just want to understand what this child is thinking. You know your child's situation. As teachers, we can't communicate with him. Ningxi heaved a sigh of relief. As long as Xiaobao wasn't being bullied at school, everything was fine. Ningxi deliberated over her words and said, Ms. Wang, thank you for your concern for my son. You know my son's situation. We sent him to school just to let him have more contact with children of his age and hope that he will be happier. Apart from that, we don't care about anything else. We don't ask for grades, so you don't have to feel pressured. Ms. Wang didn't know what to say after hearing this. This was the first time she had met a parent who didn't care about grades. Nowadays, all parents were focused on their children's grades. Even if they were only a few years old, they would start all kinds of classes, afraid that they would fall behind others. But since Ningxi, as a parent, said that grades didn't matter and that it wasn't the teacher's fault, what else could she say? Plus, Xiaobao's situation was special, so she couldn't say anything more. She coughed lightly and said, Okay then. I understand. I'm still very grateful for your concern for Lu Qingyu, Ms. Wang. Thank you. If it weren't for you, Xiaobao wouldn't have adapted to school so quickly. Ningxi thanked her politely. If she didn't know Xiaobao, she might have the same worries as her teacher. However, she had been with Xiaobao for such a long time, so she knew very well that Xiaobao's heaven-defying genes had shocked her many times. This little fellow's IQ was simply off the charts, and he was super talented in many things. The only question was whether he was willing to do it. Even Ningxi herself felt that it was an insult to Little Bun's intelligence if she asked him to do the test papers and questions in kindergarten. Every child was special and should be treated in a special way. So, why force him to do those questions for the sake of an adult's vanity and get 100 marks? Mrs. Lu, you're too kind. This is what I should do. Although Lu Qingyu is a bit introverted, he is a very lovable child. I also hope that he can be well. Ningxi's polite and respectful attitude made Teacher Wang very happy, and he hurriedly said with a smile. Several days later, in the evening. Today was the old man's 60th birthday. The banquet was about to begin, and everyone in the old house was busy. Yang Ruyi was wearing a noble and gorgeous crimson cheongsam today. She was directing the servants while looking nervously outside the door. Similarly, Lu Chongshan was pacing around with a nervous and expectant expression. Chapter 833. Finally, a black Maybach stopped at the main entrance. Then, the door opened and two people, one big and one small, alighted from the car. The father and son were dressed in custom-made suits of the same style and color. To match today's occasion, Lu Tingxiao's tie and Xiao Bao's bow tie were both bright red and looked very festive. The moment the two of them appeared, they immediately attracted everyone's attention. The servants greeted them with smiles on their faces. "Greetings, young master. Greetings, young master." Yang Rui heaved a sigh of relief when she saw the arrival of her son, especially her precious grandson. She went up to them with a smile. "Ayo, my baby is here." Lu Chongshan's stern expression softened when he saw Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao is here. This year was different from the past. After all, it was his birthday. Regardless of whether it was from the big picture or from a personal perspective, he really hoped that his only precious grandson could come. After all, Xiao Bao was his only grandson. Of his two sons, neither of them was easy to deal with. One was a man who refused to get married and the other was completely uninterested in men and women. Seeing that the Lu family was about to end, Xiao Bao's appearance was like a ray of light in the darkness. Moreover, the little fellow became more and more adorable as he grew up. He was more outstanding than his peers in all aspects and was even better than Tingxiao in the past. Ever since Xiao Bao was born, the Lu family had a successor. Lu Chongshan's heart immediately calmed down and he lived a comfortable life for a few years. He didn't even care about his two sons anymore. Who knew that there would be unpredictable winds and clouds in the sky? Because of a momentary lapse in judgment, such a thing actually happened and he blamed himself for 2 whole years. In the past 2 years, Xiao Bao's condition was fluctuating. He could only watch helplessly as the intelligent and quick-witted child turned into a soulless puppet. Dark clouds began to cover the sky above the Lu family and he felt as though a huge rock was pressing down on his heart. But now, he finally saw some hope for Xiao Bao to get better. However, this hope was built on an even bigger worry. He was on tenterhooks every day, not daring to relax at all. He was happy, but more worried. He was worried that the same thing would happen again. He was worried that it would be an even bigger disaster. Lu Chongshan recalled the time when Xiao Bao was very young. Xiao Bao would sit on his knees and giggle at him. Xiao Bao would call him grandpa in his arms. Lu Chongshan's eyes suddenly turned a little red. He turned his face away and said, "Tingxiao, take Xiao Bao into the house to play for a while. There are a lot of people today, so don't scare him. When most of the guests have arrived, take him to meet someone and greet them." "All right." Lu Tingxiao nodded. As if sensing his father's emotions, he said, "Xiao Bao has prepared a birthday present for you." Xiao Bao blinked his eyes and nodded in agreement with Papa. Hearing this, Lu Chongshan's solemn mood dissipated a little. He smiled and said, "Oh, is that so? Xiao Bao is so filial. Grandpa is looking forward to it." Watching the adult and the child enter the house, Yang Rui sighed. "When Xiao Bao gets better and Tingxiao marries Xiao, my heart will be completely at ease." Lu Chongshan shook his head. "It's not that easy." At this moment, the adult and the child were completely controlled by that woman. Chapter 834. As dusk fell, the large carved gate of the old mansion, which had been closed all year round, slowly opened. The distinguished guests from the capital and from afar slowly drove into the majestic main mansion. All guests had to go through a metal inspection before entering. Other than the gold and silver jewelry worn by the ladies, no dangerous products were allowed in. The manor gradually became lively, and luxury cars came one after another, each more luxurious than the last. As one of the biggest events in the capital's top circle, the reporters had long been eyeing it. However, the Lu family had always been low-key, and this banquet was not open to the public, so naturally no one dared to touch it. "Brother Lu, happy birthday." Guan Rui congratulated with a face full of smiles. Other than Guan Xiao, there was also a young man beside him. "You're too polite, please come in." This is. Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui looked suspiciously at the 13 or 14-year-old boy beside Guan Rui. He had a regular appearance and a slightly arrogant expression. This is my grandson, Guan Zichen. Guan Rui introduced. Yang Rui immediately had a look of realization. Oh, so it's Zichen. When I first saw him, he was still a little kid. In the blink of an eye, he's already so big. I didn't recognize him at all. He should be in junior high now, right? Auntie Lu, he's in his 3rd year of high school. He skipped a few grades in between. Guan Xiao replied. Oh, not bad. Little Chen is really talented. He'll definitely be stronger than his father in the future. Guan Rui looked at his grandson with a face full of pride. However, he still said modestly, he's still far from it. After entering the hall, Guan Xiao looked around and asked casually, Auntie Lu, why don't I see Xiao Bao? Oh, Xiao Bao is still in the house. I'm afraid he won't be used to the crowd, so I'll bring him out later. Speaking of her grandson, Yang Rui's tone was very loving. Hearing that, Guan Xiao held Yang Rui's arm and said with concern, Auntie, about Xiao Bao's situation. I know a little. When I was overseas, I minored in psychology and came into contact with quite a few of these special children. Perhaps I can help. This. Yang Rui was a little hesitant. Otherwise, it's not a solution in the long run. When our Zichen was 5 years old, he could already attend company meetings with my brother without any stage fright. Guan Xiao continued. She knew that the most important person to the Lu clan was not Yang Rui or Lu Chongshan, but Lu Tingxiao's son of unknown origin, Xiao Bao, Lu Tingxiao's only son, Lu Chongshan, and Yang Rui's only grandson. This was because Lu Chongshan's family only had one male grandson. Therefore, they valued this child more than anyone expected. For this reason, when she was abroad, she even studied psychology for a period of time, focusing on autism. For some reason, Yang Rui felt a little uncomfortable when she heard that. True autism was completely isolated from the outside world. Their family's Xiaobao was just a little stimulated and was more introverted than the average child. How could it be autism? Even Qin Mufeng had said that Xiaobao did not fall under the category of autism. At most, it could be considered post-traumatic stress disorder. What's more, since Ningxi appeared, Xiaobao's condition had improved a lot. He could laugh and make noise, and he could even speak. Chapter 835. However, she knew that Guan Xiao had good intentions, so she patted her hand and thanked her. Good girl, thank you, Xiao. Xiao Bao is doing well now. If I need anything, I'll definitely look for you. Before Xiao Bao's condition completely stabilized, even Guan Xiao wouldn't dare to let Xiao Bao come into contact with him. Hearing that it was possible, Guan Xiao immediately asked with concern, Is Xiao Bao in school now? Yes, he's in school, Yang Rui said, looking very comforted. Which school? Guan Xiao asked again. Jinshuo Kindergarten. As far as I know, this school is not bad, but it seems to be just an ordinary kindergarten. Xiao Bao's condition should be treated differently. I know a school that specializes in autistic children. Previously, I specially went there to do a psychological research, and it's really not bad. Many children's conditions have improved greatly after they went there. I know the principal there. Perhaps, should I ask Xiao Bao to go there to have a look? Guan Xiao asked tentatively. Although Yang Rui didn't think that Xiao Bao was autistic, she would naturally be more than happy to help Xiao Bao get better. Hearing Guan Xiao's words, she was naturally a little tempted. She looked a little hesitant as she said, This, I'll have to discuss with Tingxiao before making a decision. Guan Xiao hurriedly said, That's what we should do. There's no rush, you guys can discuss it. If you need anything, just contact me at any time. I'll also talk to Tingxiao about this and see what he thinks. Okay. Thank you, Xiao. Yang Rui looked gratified. Not only did Guan Xiao not mind Xiao Bao's existence, she was even more considerate of Xiao Bao. Naturally, she was even more satisfied. The two of them were chatting harmoniously when suddenly, a little maid ran over in panic. She lowered her voice and whispered into Yang Rui's ear, Old madam, bad news. Young master is missing. What did you say? What do you mean missing? Yang Rui's expression changed. Guan Ziao looked over with concern. What happened? A moment later, Yang Ruyi, Guan Ziao, Lu Chongshan, Lu Tingxiao and Lu Jingli all appeared in Xiaobao's room. Lu Chongshan's expression was unusually ugly. Why would someone go missing? How do you take care of children? The maid looked at Yang Ruyi and then at Guan Ziao. She seemed to be in a dilemma. However, she was afraid of Lu Chongshan's anger, so she said honestly, actually, young master came out just now. He suddenly ran away after hearing the conversation between old madam and Miss Guan. There were too many people at that time, so I couldn't catch up with him. Later, I couldn't find him no matter how hard I tried. That's why I got anxious. As the maid spoke, she was so scared that she was about to cry. This young master was the lifeblood of the entire Lu family. If there was even the slightest mishap, she would definitely die. What were you two talking about just now? Lu Chongshan immediately looked sharply in the direction of Yang Ruyi and Guan Ziao. Yang Rui's face paled. Could it be? Guan Ziao's expression also changed. Say something. Lu Chongshan looked at Yang Ruyi anxiously. Just as Lu Chongshan was panicking, Guan Ziao's voice suddenly came from Lu Tingxiao's phone. Auntie, I know a little about Xiaobao's situation. He's a special child. When our Ji Chen was 5 years old, he could already attend company meetings with my brother without any stage fright. I know a school that specializes in autistic children. While they were talking, Lu Tingxiao had already used his phone to accurately pull up the surveillance footage from that time. Chapter 836. Lu Chongshan's expression darkened as he listened to Guan Ziao's words. Xiaobao's kidnapping had caused a huge commotion back then. Although the Lu family had sealed off the news and the outside world didn't know about it, the people in the circle still knew about it. Moreover, Xiaobao hadn't appeared in any formal events for 2 whole years, so it was inevitable that there would be all sorts of rumors. Some people even privately speculated that Xiaobao had been scared silly and that the only grandson of the Lu family was completely crippled. Xiaobao might have been slightly autistic, but Lu Chongshan couldn't help but feel uncomfortable when he heard Guan Ziao calling him a special child and an autistic child. She even compared her nephew, Guan Zichen. The atmosphere became a little awkward as the voices from the surveillance cameras rang out. Guan Ziao furrowed her brows and said, Auntie Lu and I didn't say anything that might agitate the child. Is there another reason? Lu Jingli glanced at her and mumbled, Isn't that agitating? Think about it from another perspective. If it were you, would you be happy to be called sick and sent to a special school? Xiaobao is a normal child. Of course he would be hurt and upset after hearing these words. Lu Jingli's words struck a chord with Lu Chongshan and Yang Ruyi. Guan Ziao's expression stiffened. Although she didn't think that it was her fault, she couldn't refute Lu Jingli's words. She could only apologize guiltily. I'm sorry, I didn't expect things to turn out this way. Yang Ruyi knew that she didn't do it on purpose. She patted her on the shoulder and tried to smooth things over. Ziao, it's not your fault. No one knew that Xiaobao would suddenly come and hear all this. Lu Chongshan's expression was solemn as he said, The most important thing now is to find Xiaobao. The consequences would be dire if something were to happen at an event like this. Tingxiao, can you see where Xiaobao went from the surveillance cameras? Yang Ruyi asked anxiously. Lu Tingxiao replied, he avoided the surveillance cameras on purpose. Guan Ziao was a little surprised to hear Lu Tingxiao's words. How could a 5-year-old child know how to avoid the surveillance cameras? Wasn't Lu Tingxiao exaggerating a little? He must have just avoided them by coincidence. When Yang Ruyi heard this, she became even more anxious. Then what should we do? There are so many guests today, and we can't openly look for him. Guan Ziao wanted to make amends for her mistake, so she thought for a while and said, under normal circumstances, autistic. I mean, a child with Xiaobao's personality is usually insecure, so he would hide in a place where he feels most secure. Maybe he's hiding in this room. Have you searched the house? Guan Ziao asked the little maid. The little maid immediately nodded. I've looked everywhere. Are you sure? Guan Ziao asked again, have you looked in the cupboard, under the bed? Cupboard? Under the bed? The little maid shook her head and frowned. No. Our young master loves cleanliness. Why would he go to that kind of place? Let's look around. In my experience, these are the most likely places, Guan Xiao said. The little maid did not move immediately. Instead, she looked in the direction of Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui. Chapter 837. After receiving the affirmation, she hurriedly started searching. Yang Rui and Lu Chongshan also helped to search around the house. In the end, after searching for half a day and even rummaging through the drawers, he still found nothing. Guan Xiao thought for a while. Does he have a habit of going somewhere? The little maid was covered in dust. She wiped her sweat and said, I've searched all the places that the young master could have gone. Tingxiao, what should we do now? Say something. Yang Rui looked at her son anxiously. Lu Tingxiao glanced at his phone. I've checked several entrances and exits. He hasn't left the villa. It's all my fault. I didn't notice him coming. I said something that made him sad. Yang Rui blamed herself. She felt sorry for Xiaobao when she thought that he might be hiding somewhere sad. Lu Chongshan didn't relax at all. You mean he must be at home? But they still had to find the person. We can't leave him alone, can we? Let him calm down. Lu Tingxiao said expressionlessly. When Lu Chongshan heard that, he immediately erupted like a volcano. Are you even human? He is still young. Let him calm down. Xiaobao's condition was unstable to begin with, and this is just a little better. Do you want him to return to his previous state? Seeing that Lu Tingxiao was still indifferent, Lu Chongshan's face darkened. He suppressed his anger and said, All right, you don't have to trick me anymore. Call that woman over. That woman. Guan Xiao was alarmed when she heard the key word. Lu Tingxiao glanced at his father coldly. Father, who are you talking about? That woman. Lu Chongshan glared at his son and said, Ningxi, I don't know who she is in the Lu family. Just tell me and I'll be there. Lu Tingxiao said unhurriedly. Lu Jingli shook his head and clicked his tongue. TSK, 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 TSK. Aren't you two dating now? Lu Chongshan said grumpily. So you know. Lu Tingxiao's casual words obviously meant something. She already knew that he was dating someone, yet she still tried to matchmake him with another woman. When she was free, she would think of that woman, but when she was busy, she would remember that she was his dating partner. Being mocked by his son in front of an outsider, Lu Chongshan's old face obviously couldn't take it. Bastard, how can you talk to your father like this? You two, what are you arguing about? Can't you see that this is the time to quarrel? Yang Rui pulled Lu Chongshan away and kept signaling him with her eyes, telling him to control his temper even if it was for Xiaobao. Then, Yang Rui looked at Lu Tingxiao and tried to persuade him. Tingxiao, your father's words are a little harsh. Don't bother with him. Xiaobao is more important right now. Brother, no matter what, let's call sister-in-law over first. In case something unexpected happens, we can be prepared. Lu Jingli tried to smooth things over at the right time. Today was his father's birthday after all, and it wouldn't be good to make things too tense. Yang Rui nodded repeatedly. Lu Tingxiao, I'll ask her if she has time. What did he mean by if she had time? Even if she didn't have time, she should drop everything and rush over. What could be more important than Xiaobao? Lu Chongshan was not very happy with Lu Tingxiao's attitude, but he had to put up with it since he was asking for help. Okay, call her now. Yang Rui said hurriedly. Chapter 838. Guan Xiao looked at the scene in front of her and couldn't help but feel alarmed. What was going on? Judging from the situation, why did it seem that the woman had a great influence on Xiaobao? So much so that Yang Rui and Lu Chongshan were afraid of her even though they didn't like her. She was just an actress. How could she be able to get close to Xiaobao? After all, she had heard that even the famous psychologist Qin Mufeng couldn't do anything about Xiaobao. At the same time, in Ziyiling's studio. After finishing a job, Ningxi went to the studio to have a look. Gong Shangzi, Han Momo, and Xiao Weilan were all busy. After greeting the three of them, Ningxi called Gong Shangzi to her office alone. "Boss, what can I do for you?" "Yeah." Ningxi nodded and looked at him. "Tell me what you think of Director Qiao." Gong Shangzi seemed hesitant. "Tell me the truth." Ningxi smiled helplessly. "I asked you to tell me the truth." "Okay." Gong Shangzi coughed. "Let's talk about Director Qiao first. She's really cold. We didn't dare talk to her for the past few days. However, her business ability is absolutely top-notch. If it were us, it would take days of work, but she could even make a decision with just a glance. So, in the few days that she was here, our work efficiency was very fast. Basically, after the fashion week, the orders were almost finished." Ningxi breathed a sigh of relief. Then, Gong Shangzi said hesitantly, But what? But, how should I put it? I can feel that her heart isn't here. She never takes the initiative to do anything except for the work at hand," Gong Shangzi answered honestly. Ningxi wasn't surprised. It's rare for her to be able to do what she has done. After all, she had come here halfway. To her, this was just a mission that Qin Shengyu had assigned to her. She didn't want to be meritorious, but she did not want to make any mistakes. Apart from what she was supposed to do, she would not do anything else. Once the time limit was up, she would immediately leave. "Okay, I got the gist of it. Xiao Weilan has been a great help to us. Get along well. As for the studio, we have to pay more attention to it. We can't rely on her for everything," Ningxi said. Gong Shangzi, "Understood, boss." Ningxi was talking to Gong Shangzi when her phone suddenly rang. She looked at the caller ID and found it was Lu Tingxiao. In an instant, Ningxi's originally strong and resolute expression immediately became gentle and sweet. Gong Shangzi could guess who it was the moment he saw Ningxi's expression. He said sensibly, "Boss, if there's nothing else, I'll go do something first." "All right, go ahead." After Gong Shangzi went out, Ningxi immediately picked up the phone. "Hello Lord Boss why are you calling me at this time? What are you doing?" Lu Tingxiao asked, his tone as gentle as water. "I'm at the studio. I just came over to check on the situation if you're not busy, can you come to the old house?" Lu Tingxiao asked. "I'm not busy. But, why do you want me to go to the old mansion all of a sudden? Isn't today your father's birthday?" Ningxi frowned slightly. She almost immediately sensed that something was wrong. Did something happen to little Bao? Chapter 839. Don't worry, Xiaobao is fine. I just can't find him. I've checked the surveillance cameras and he hasn't left. He must still be in the old house. Lu Tingxiao replied. What? He can't be found? Why can't he be found all of a sudden? I'll be right there. Let's talk about it later. Hearing that it was about Xiaobao, Ningxi had no time to ask more questions. She was about to leave immediately. Be careful on the road. Don't worry. Take a taxi. Don't drive yourself. Lu Tingxiao reminded her worriedly. Apparently, he was worried that she would race again. I know. In the old house, Lu Jingli and Yang Rui were relieved to see that Lu Tingxiao had successfully called Xiaobao over. Guan Ziao forced a smile and asked casually, "It seems that Miss Ning has a good relationship with Xiaobao, right?" "Yes, our Xiaobao quite likes that girl and listens to her," Yang Rui replied after a moment of deliberation. This matter couldn't be concealed any longer. Yang Rui simply gave Guan Ziao a heads-up in advance. Hearing that, Guan Ziao's eyes flickered. She didn't expect that woman to be smarter than she had imagined. She had already established a relationship with Xiaobao. Guan Ziao sighed and said hopefully, "That's great. As long as Miss Ning is here, she can definitely find Xiaobao." Although she deliberately said so, in fact, after a little speculation, she knew that Ningxi must not have been to the old house many times. She probably didn't even go to the whole old house. The old house was so big. How could she find Xiaobao in a place she was not familiar with and without alarming the guests? There was a saying that the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Lu Chongshan and Yang Ruyi naturally thought of this as well, but apart from that, they did not have any better ideas. We can't count on an outsider. I've asked the servants to keep quiet and continue to look for him. If it doesn't work, we'll end the banquet early, Lu Chongshan said seriously. Guan Ziao couldn't help feeling shocked. Although she had been prepared, she seemed to have underestimated the importance Lu Chongshan attached to Xiaobao. The old house of the Lu family. By the time Ningxi arrived, most of the guests had arrived. The courtyard was brightly lit. She could vaguely hear melodious music and the guests' heated conversations. Tonight, the surrounding area was under martial law, so the taxi could only drive to the foot of the mountain. Fortunately, as soon as Ningxi got out of the car, she saw Lu Jingli waiting by the roadside. What's going on tonight? Lu Jingli started the engine and explained the whole story to her as he drove. That's what happened. I don't know where Xiao Bao is hiding to feel sad right now, poor child. She narrowed her eyes. There was a coldness in her eyes that didn't match her aura at all. Is Guan Zhichen very powerful? He's been touted as a genius since he was young. He's only 13 years old, but he's already in his third year of high school. He's going to take the college entrance examination next year and prepare to apply for Imperial City University. Of course, he definitely can't be compared to our little treasure. He can't even compare to me, okay? As they spoke, the car had already arrived at the entrance. Lu Jingli went around and opened the door for Ningxi. He scratched his head worriedly. 11:11, it seems to be a little tricky this time. In the past, Xiaobao would at most hide in the attic and lock himself up. This time, I can't see him at all. I don't know where he is hiding. After all, you're not familiar with the layout of the old house. If you can't find him, don't force yourself. At most, you can ask my father to end the banquet early. Nothing is more important than Xiaobao. While Lu Jingli was muttering, Ningxi suddenly let out a soft cry. Then, she bent down with a surprised face and hugged the little fellow who rushed out of the darkness. Xiaobao. Baby. You scared Aunt Xiaoxi. Where did you go just now? Lu Jingli was dumbfounded as he looked at Xiaobao, who they couldn't find anywhere. Brother Shi, your automatic treasure hunting function is amazing. Chapter 840. At the same time, somewhere in the backyard, Lu Tingxiao, Lu Chongshan, and Yang Ruyi were all there. Guan Ziao was also there, surrounded by a few trembling servants. The butler was giving orders to the people on the other end of the line through a wireless walkie-talkie. Master, we still haven't found young master, Butler Xing replied with sweat all over his forehead. Lu Chongshan's face darkened. Send more people. If we send more people, the guests will be suspicious. Butler Xing looked hesitant. They told the public that Yang Ruyi had accidentally lost a precious necklace, so they were looking for it. But if it was just a necklace, it was unreasonable to send so many people. Moreover, none of the masters of the Lu family had shown up tonight. The guests were not fools. They might be suspicious by now. Retreat. Lu Tingxiao glanced at the time on his watch and said to Xing Wu. One asked him to send more people, and the other asked him to retreat. Xing Wu looked at old Master Lu and then at young Master Lu. He froze. Who should he listen to? We haven't found Xiaobao yet. Why should we retreat? Lu Chongshan was furious. Ningxi will be here soon. Lu Tingxiao said. So what if she's here? Is she a fairy? We've turned over the lawn and still can't find Xiaobao. How can she find him by herself? Lu Chongshan said impatiently. Tingxiao, Xiaobao's safety is more important. You should listen to Uncle Lu and send more people. Guan Ziao persuaded. Xing Wu, what are you waiting for? Lu Chongshan urged. Xing Wu was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Out of the corner of his eyes, he suddenly saw something not too far in front of him and was dumbfounded. Young master, what? Xiaobao. Where? Yang Ruyi and Lu Chongshan asked in unison. That looks like young master. All of a sudden, Everyone looked in the direction that Xingwu was pointing at. Then they saw Lu Jingli and Ning Shi walking in their direction. Ning Shi was carrying a child in her arms. The little boy was wearing Lu Jingli's suit jacket. He was hugging the girl's neck tightly and burying his face in her shoulder. It was a posture that only a child would have when he was extremely insecure. All of a sudden, everyone went up to greet him with a face full of surprise. Jingli, where did you find little Bao? Yang Rui was extremely excited. I didn't look for her at all. As soon as my sister-in-law appeared, Xiao Bao appeared on his own. Lu Jingli shrugged. No one had expected it to be like this. Everyone's face was filled with astonishment. In the end, it wasn't Ning Shi who found Xiao Bao, it was Xiao Bao who found her. No wonder Lu Tingxiao was so sure that Ning Shi would be able to find Xiao Bao. Clearly, Xiao Bao was in the vicinity, just that he didn't want to show himself. Now that he saw the person he wanted to see, the person he could rely on, and the person who gave him a sense of security, he naturally came out. In any case, Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui finally heaved a sigh of relief, but they did not know how to treat Ning Shi. Ning Shi didn't care about all this. She was wholeheartedly focused on little Bun. She was coaxing him softly when the little fellow suddenly popped his little head out. He held the writing board in his trembling little hand, as if he had something to say. Baby, what's wrong? Ning Shi hurriedly took the writing board. The next second, when she saw what Xiao Bao wrote, her eyes instantly turned red. Xiao Bao wrote on the writing board, Mom, I want to go home. Chapter 841. Mom, I want to go home. Seeing these words, Yang Rui's tears flowed out of her eyes. Only now did she realize how much damage her words to Zi Yarrow had caused to Xiao Bao. If he hadn't been extremely sad, he wouldn't have written such helpless words. They claimed that they loved Xiao Bao the most, but they couldn't even give him a home. Xiao Bao didn't even have a sense of belonging here. He was at home, but he said he wanted to go home. Guanxiao's attention was on the word mom. She had thought that this woman was just familiar with Xiao Bao, but she didn't expect that Xiao Bao had already accepted this woman as his mother. No, she had to hurry up. She didn't want to get involved in such an occasion. She had planned to leave after comforting Xiao Bao, but now she completely changed her mind. She wanted to take advantage of this occasion to make everyone dare not look down on Xiao Bao anymore. Even if she and Lu Tingxiao couldn't have a smooth journey in the future, she hoped that Xiao Bao could be fine even without her. So she calmed herself down and said to Xiao Bao in a very gentle tone, Baby, be good. This is your home. Besides, today is Grandpa's birthday. We specially prepared a great birthday gift for Grandpa. Have you forgotten? When little Bun heard this, he didn't have any reaction. He just hugged Shi even tighter. I'll give the gift to Grandpa with you later, okay? Shi said again. Hearing this, Xiao Bao finally rubbed Shi's shoulder and nodded in agreement. He wanted to go home. Wherever Xiao Bao's mom was, that was home. After comforting Xiao Bao, Shi looked at the two elders and said worriedly, Xiao Bao might have been outside for a long time, so he must be very cold. He'd better take a hot bath as soon as possible. Yang Rui hurriedly said, then come in. Don't stand in the yard. Lu Chongshan was ready to let Xiao Bao and Shi leave, but he didn't expect that Xiao Bao would still stay, so he hurriedly let them in. As long as Xiao Bao was willing to stay, even if that woman wanted to use Xiao Bao to show her face at the birthday banquet, he would still indulge her. In the banquet hall at the front, the guests had been waiting for too long and had already begun to whisper among themselves. Seeing that Xiao Bao's condition had stabilized, Lu Chongshan hurriedly went to the front with Yang Rui to greet the guests. My apologies for making you wait so long. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend my birthday banquet. Elder Lu, you're too kind. It's our honor to be invited by you, sir. After Lu Chongshan's polite greetings, the crowd also warmly congratulated him. On the surface, they didn't show any unusual expressions. However, when they turned their heads, they couldn't help but secretly speculate. What do you think of what happened tonight? It's said that old Madame Lu's beloved necklace is missing, but it's just a necklace. Does it need several owners to disappear for half a night? Could it be that the young master of the Lu clan is acting up again? Most likely. The Lu clan is really unlucky. They only have one son, and he has turned into a fool. Haha, the Lu clan is so powerful now. How can they not have some dark secrets? I'm afraid that karma has fallen on their descendants. Chapter 842. The Lus are too much. Lu Tingxiao is not even married and he already has an illegitimate child. Our family didn't even say anything. What you said was for the child's good. It's fine if he's not grateful, but how can you be blamed for something happening to him? Guan Rui was enraged when he heard his daughter's words. Dad, calm down. Uncle Lu and Auntie Lu did not blame me. They even comforted me and said that it had nothing to do with me. Auntie Lu was very polite to me and was very grateful to me, Guan Xiao explained hurriedly. Guan Rui's expression softened a little. That's more like it. Is that woman really that close to Xiaobao? Guan Xiao nodded unhappily. I saw Xiaobao calling her mommy. Guan Rui looked at his daughter and asked in a deep voice, Xiao, what do you think is the most important thing for you to do now? Build a good relationship with Xiaobao, Guan Xiao replied. Guan Rui shook his head. Wrong. Although you are smart, you are still too muddle-headed on this matter. That child is basically a useless person now. What's the use of sucking up to a useless person? That woman already has the child in her hands. Did you see Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui relenting? Even if she is dating Lu Tingxiao, they still did not acknowledge her. They did not even invite her to an event like today and even tried so hard to use a child to get her to come. Guan Xiao said solemnly, this is because that woman's background is too low. Moreover, I can tell that Uncle Lu and Auntie Lu really care about Xiaobao. That's why I want Xiaobao to like me. That way, even Tingxiao will value me more. Guan Rui sighed and analyzed the situation for her. Xiaobao is the only bloodline of the Lus after all, and he is their flesh and blood. Naturally, they will care about him. It was precisely because they cared about him that the Lu family was more cautious and harsh when it came to choosing his mother. Do you know what the position of the Lu family's future mistress means? So what if that woman makes Xiaobao happy? At most, the Lus can just hire her to be Xiaobao's tutor or even nanny to take care of him. But is Lu Chongshan that muddle-headed to let her marry into the family? Hearing those words, Guan Xiao was visibly shaken. Guan Rui patted his daughter's shoulder and said earnestly, so, Xiao, don't put the cart before the horse. Right now, the most important thing for you is to make Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui value you more. Of course, if you want to, it'll be easy for you. You've already hit the nail on the head. That woman's family background is too low. No matter how much she jumps around, it's impossible for her to marry into the Lu family. You must be more magnanimous. Don't get upset over such a trivial matter. Even if you marry him in the future, you must have the magnanimity of a mistress. The position of the Lu family's matriarch can only be yours. Do you understand? Dad, I understand. Hearing this, Guan Xiao nodded with a firm gaze. The restlessness in her heart also dissipated. Guan Rui looked at his beloved daughter with a gratified expression. It's good that you understand. In fact, there was a very important point that he didn't mention. In the future, when Xiao married into the Lu family and had children with Lu Tingxiao, with the genes of the Guan family, would there be any children that Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui wouldn't like? By then, their attention would naturally shift from that wastrel. Chapter 843. Dong, 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 someone knocked on the door. Ningxi walked over and opened the door. At the door, a little maid stood there with a bowl of soup in her hand. Miss Ning, this is the ginger soup that Madam asked the kitchen to cook. It can drive away the cold. Ah, thank you. Sorry to trouble you. I'll let the young master drink it immediately after his bath. It's nothing. It's my duty. The little maid bowed respectfully and left. Ningxi put the ginger soup on the table and knocked on the bathroom door. Lu Tingxiao, are you done? Yes. Lu Tingxiao's voice came from inside. A moment later, Lu Tingxiao came out with Xiaobao, who had just finished a hot bath. Xiaobao was wrapped in a big bath towel. His hair was slightly wet and fragrant, and he was held in Papa's arms. Seeing this, Ningxi immediately covered her heart. Lu Tingxiao, I want to hug you, I want to hug you. Xiaobao immediately stretched out his little hands and wanted to be hugged by Mama. Lu Tingxiao gently sent Xiaobao to Ningxi's arms. Ningxi carried the little bun over and kissed the little fellow's rosy cheeks. Then, she fed him the ginger soup. Baby, this soup tastes a little bad, but it can drive away the cold. It's good for your body. Xiaobao did not resist at all and drank it all in one breath. Ningxi happily applauded and praised, Baby, you're great. It tastes bad, but you drank it all. After Xiaobao finished his bath, drank the ginger soup and changed his clothes, he had recovered most of his energy. Ningxi looked at the time. Lu Tingxiao, take Xiaobao to the front to entertain the guest. Okay. Lu Tingxiao nodded and did not ask any more about Ningxi's decision to let Xiaobao stay. Hearing this, Xiaobao's little face immediately showed some nervousness. Ningxi smiled and rubbed his little head. Don't worry, you go down with Papa first. Mama will come to find you soon after changing clothes. Xiaobao's slightly uneasy eyes immediately calmed down. He nodded obediently and let Papa hold his little hand. After comforting little Bun, Ningxi looked at her fingers and looked at Lu Tingxiao hesitantly. That. Mr. Boss, let me tell you in advance. Later, I might have to do something that might offend someone. Lu Tingxiao, yeah, I'm here. Ningxi. Why does the great demon king give me a sense of déjà vu? But what if she became even more charming? This feeling of having someone to support you even if you pierce through the sky, isn't it too good, Tilda? Hey, why didn't I see President Lu tonight? I haven't seen him for a long time. Maybe he hasn't arrived yet. In the banquet hall, Lu Tingxiao was still nowhere to be seen. Many people started to ask him why he was not here. After all, it was his father's 60th birthday, and Lu Tingxiao was the current leader of the Lu family. It was unreasonable for him to not show up. At the same time, everyone was even more certain of their previous guesses. Sure enough, something must have happened to that little prince. A trace of worry lingered between Lu Chongshan's brows as he listened to the people around him asking questions one after another. He did not know how Xiaobao was doing. Tingxiao, Lu Chongshan was just about to find an excuse to explain to the crowd, but before he could say anything, he suddenly saw two familiar figures, one big and one small, at the door. Immediately, some sharp-eyed people also noticed it and couldn't help but exclaim, Aya, President Lu is here. The child beside President Lu is. In an instant, everyone in the hall looked in the direction of the door. Chapter 844. Lu Tingxiao was dressed in a black suit with a tie in front of his chest as the only bright color. His face was expressionless and he was as cold and distant as ever. And at this moment, this cold and aloof man was actually holding the hand of a little boy who did not match his cold and indifferent feeling at all. The child was about 5 or 6 years old and looked like a boy who had walked out of a portrait of Guanyin. He had fair skin and big eyes. He was wearing the same vintage British suit as Lu Tingxiao and looked like a young gentleman from the Middle Ages. Most importantly, although the child's facial features were young and adorable, one could tell at a glance that he and his father beside him seemed to have been carved from the same appearance. Especially that 30% cold, 70% arrogant little expression, it was simply like a god's will. Needless to say, one could tell who he was just by looking at his little face. He was definitely the legendary little prince of the Lu family. In the face of such a big banquet scene and the burning gazes of so many people, the little boy's expression did not change at all. He followed his father calmly and had an amazing aura at such a young age. He was indeed a child who was nurtured by the Lu family's environment. For a moment, this thought flashed through everyone's mind. But, it was strange. Wasn't it rumored that the young master of the Lu family was silly and hid at home all day? How did he look like a silly child? When Lu Tingxiao had already walked down the stairs with Xiaobao, the crowd finally recovered from the shock and almost flocked to surround the father and son enthusiastically. Oh, this is Qingyu, right? He's already so big. I remember the last time we met was 5 years ago at the little boy's 1-month birthday party. Time flies. Qingyu, do you still remember me? When you came to play at my house when you were 3 years old, I even carried you. Many of the elderly guests who were at the level of grandparents sighed. When I saw little Qingyu just now, I thought I saw Tingxiao. He looks exactly like Tingxiao when he was a child. Isn't that right? Xiao 1111, the clothes you wanted are ready. I spent a lot of effort to borrow them from Xiaorong and was almost suspected of being a pervert. Lu Jingli held a maid costume in his hand and looked sad. Ningxi hurriedly ran over to take the clothes and looked at them with satisfaction. That's great. You've worked hard. Little 1111, you're not really going to wear this thing, are you? Although I think your uniform is very tempting, my brother will probably like it. But on such an occasion today, you really don't want to think about killing Guan Ziao in a flash? I can immediately get you a full set of outfits and a professional stylist. Lu Jingli's eyes lit up. Ningxi glanced at Lu Jingli, who was even more excited than she was. No need, thank you. It's more convenient for me to show off in this outfit. With that, his eyes flickered and he said faintly, "Tonight is not my home field." Lu Jingli was confused. Then whose? You'll know soon enough. Back off quickly. This empress is going to change. Cha. Lu Jingli swiftly rolled away. Oh, he suddenly looked forward to his brother seeing little 1111 in a maid costume. He had personally designed and selected the materials for all the servants' uniforms in the Lu family, especially the maid uniform, which he had spent a lot of effort on. Chapter 845. Within the banquet hall, practically all the guests present were extremely interested in Xiaobao. Moreover, when they saw that the little fellow was extremely cute like a white and soft little bun, and even his solemn expression was extremely cute, they couldn't help but move closer to tease him. Even if the child was scared out of his mind, he was undoubtedly a lovable child. Looking at the people around him talking and Xiao's mema not coming, Xiaobao's face gradually showed a bit of impatience, and his little hand, which was originally held by Lu Tingxiao, also wanted to break free from his control. He didn't want to stay here. Lu Tingxiao, who was entertaining the guests, noticed the little guy's mood, looked down at his son, and said in a low voice, "Wait a minute." Xiaobao blinked his eyes and could only continue to entertain with Papa unhappily. Xiaobao had been in a bad mood and didn't say a word from beginning to end, which became more and more obvious. Some attentive guests naturally noticed and asked with concern, "Boss Lu, why does little Qingyu look not very well tonight? Is he not feeling well? If he is not feeling well, let the child go to rest first. Don't force yourself." Guan Rui also advised. Yes, health matters. Amidst the sympathetic gazes and comforting voices that expressed understanding, the girl's clear and melodious voice that sounded like a silver bell suddenly came, "Young master, I'm coming." At the door, a little girl in a maid's uniform was trotting all the way in their direction. The girl's hair was tied in 2 ponytails, her eyes were clear and bright, and her little face was white and rosy. She looked very young and stood in front of Lu Tingxiao, panting with a very respectful look. "Young master." Lu Tingxiao coughed lightly and finally recovered from the unexpected temptation of his wife's uniform. Lu Tingxiao handed his son to Ningxi, who was about to run out like a runaway pony after seeing Ningxi, and said calmly, "Well, take the young master to eat something." "Yes, young master. Young master, come with me." Ningxi bent down, reached out to Xiaobao, and secretly winked at him. Little Baozi raised his little head and looked at Mama, his eyes sparkling with surprise. He revealed a big smile, then happily handed his little hand to Mama and obediently followed Mama to the food area. Watching Ningxi and Xiaobao leave happily, Lu Tingxiao stood on the spot, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He didn't expect that she would choose to accompany Xiaobao in this way. However, it was indeed something that she could do. Oh, no wonder Xiao Bao has been depressed tonight. He's hungry. Kids are still growing. They can't go hungry. Lu Chongshan, who had been tense all this while, finally heaved a sigh of relief. He smiled and said, "My child is too boring and doesn't like to talk." He had thought that Ningxi would definitely take advantage of tonight to dress glamorously and even stick to Tingxiao's side to declare her identity as his girlfriend. He never imagined that she would actually use this identity to accompany Xiaobao. He couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Ha ha ha, he's just like Tingxiao when he was young. Lu Chongshan laughed. It's not the same. Tingxiao was much more boring than Qingyu back then. Everyone couldn't help but laugh. Some old friends talked about the interesting things that happened between Lu Tingxiao and Lu Jingli when they were young, and the atmosphere became warm again. So it was hereditary. Suddenly, the reason for Xiaobao's cold personality was also explained. It wasn't so abrupt anymore. Chapter 846. In a secluded corner of the banquet hall. What did you say? That little maid is Tingxiao's girlfriend? Yes, but I don't know why she showed up dressed like this. Guan Xiao looked vigilant. She felt that the woman was not as simple as she looked. Guan Rui said contemptuously, "Do you have to ask? Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui don't acknowledge her. How dare she show up with Tingxiao in public? She can only pretend to be a servant. Xiao, you don't have to waste your time on such a character. You should focus on." Guan Rui was talking to his daughter when Lu Tingxiao suddenly came over. "Uncle Guan, it's my father's birthday tonight. Thank you for coming." Guan Rui was very happy to see Lu Tingxiao come over to greet him alone. He said with a smile, "Tingxiao, you're too polite. I'm your father's friend and I don't need to be polite." After a few words of greeting, Lu Tingxiao suddenly waved at someone not far away. Ningxi was eating with Xiaobao when she saw Lu Tingxiao waving at her. She was a little suspicious, so she said something to the little bun and ran over. "Young master, what can I do for you?" Guan Rui and Guan Xiao also looked at Lu Tingxiao suspiciously, wondering why he called this woman over. Did he want her to pour wine and fetch food? Lu Tingxiao took a gentle look at the girl beside him and then looked at Guan Rui, introducing, "Uncle Guan, this is my girlfriend, Ningxi. Xiaoxi, this is Uncle Guan, my father's best friend. You don't need to pretend in front of him." Alas! What did the devil want to do? Why did he introduce her to Guan Rui? Was he trying to piss Guan Rui and Guan Xiao off on purpose? Well, okay, maybe he was doing it on purpose. Ningxi was a little surprised. Then she followed Lu Tingxiao's words and greeted him obediently. "Hello, Uncle Guan." Okay. Guan Rui's face darkened at once. What did Lu Tingxiao mean? He knew that the Lu family and the Guan family wanted to unite by marriage, but he still deliberately introduced this woman to him. However, even though he was so angry that he almost vomited blood, he couldn't say a word. After all, Lu Tingxiao's behavior was polite. "Go and play with Xiaobao." After saying goodbye, Lu Tingxiao let Ningxi go back. Then, as if he didn't notice the look on Guan Rui and Guan Xiao's faces, Lu Tingxiao continued unhurriedly, "Uncle Guan, I'm sorry. Although I want to introduce her to everyone, Xiaoxi attaches great importance to her work. Because of her profession, we can't make it public for the time being. As a man, I can only feel wronged." Yes. There's nothing we can do about it." Guan Rui was so angry that his fingers were trembling as he held the wine glass, but he still had to act like an elder. Guan Xiao's composure was slightly weaker, and her face had already turned pale. In the end, Guan Rui took a deep breath and regained his composure. He raised his wine glass and put on a fake smile. "Tingxiao, as an elder, I can't help but remind you that with this girl's lowly background, I'm afraid she's not worthy of you. I'm afraid your parents will never agree to it, right? You know, nowadays, young girls, especially in that circle, all come for money. It's okay for them to play, but if they take it seriously, it's too inappropriate." Lu Tingxiao took an inscrutable look at Guan Rui and said indifferently, "Thank you for your concern. In terms of status, I'm not worthy of her. It's me who's not worthy of Xiaoxi." Chapter 847. After saying this, Lu Tingxiao nodded and took his leave. Guan Rui and Guan Ziao stood rooted to the ground and looked at each other. Lu Tingxiao, what did he mean? What did Lu Tingxiao mean by that? Isn't this woman the adopted daughter who was kicked out of the Ning family? Guan Rui frowned. I don't think she's an adopted daughter. Guan Ziao muttered. Guan Rui snorted. I thought she was someone important. Even if she's the Ning family's biological daughter, she can't even compare to a finger of yours. But from what Tingxiao said, this woman seems to have another identity. Guan Rui thought about it and said, I'll look into it later. You don't have to worry about it. That kid is still young and impetuous. He probably doesn't want to listen to his family's arrangements, so he purposely used this to annoy me. How many families in the entire capital city were not worthy of the Lu family? The number of fingers on one hand could be counted. Not a single one of them can be related to someone like Ningxi. The banquet continued and the atmosphere was warm and harmonious. That night, most people had their eyes on the young master of the Lu family, who rarely showed up. Some people even hoped that the kid would embarrass himself tonight out of jealousy. Unfortunately, they were disappointed. Ever since Xiaobao was brought over by Ningxi, he had been obedient and no different from a normal child. It seemed that his condition had stabilized after 2 years of treatment. Otherwise, the Lu family wouldn't have dared to let him show up. Other than the young master of the Lu family, the focus of the night was the genius from the Guan family who had recently returned to the capital. A top student was indeed a top student. He didn't forget to study even when he was attending a banquet. He heard that there were many powerful people tonight, so he brought along a few math problems that he couldn't solve for many days. Many guests were interested and gathered around him, eager to try. Oh my God, are these math problems in middle school? That's sick. The students nowadays are so pitiful. Ha ha ha, Mo Lingtian, you're such a bad student. You can't even understand the questions. This is a university course, and it's a competition question. A rich man mocked him mercilessly. Mo Lingtian's mouth twitched. Okay, it's not that the questions are sick, it's that the little genius from the Guan family is too sick. I think I made one. Is the answer to the first question -9? A bespectacled teenager came over and asked excitedly. Guan Zhichen kept a straight face and shook his head. No, the answer to this question is 0. It's not right again. The youngster looked disappointed. I've already thought of the solution for this question. I can teach you, but I still can't solve the second question. Old Guan, this grandson of yours is really incredible. Not far away, a few guests looked at the lively children over there, and all of them had an envious expression on their faces. Lu Chongshan also praised, like father, like son. Guan Rui said helplessly, he's almost becoming a bookworm. I'm having a headache too. Originally, we purposely brought him out to relax. Who knew that when Xiao and I weren't paying attention, he would run off to do questions again. Sigh, old Guan, your words are so annoying. That brat of mine would rather be beaten up 3 times a day than read for even a minute. How can your son compare to old Guan's? His IQ is 180, and he won an international mathematics prize when he was only 10 years old. Chapter 848. He's impressive indeed. I think he's even better than Tingxiao back then. The new generation really excels the old. A guest who was on good terms with the Guan family exclaimed. As the host, Lu Chongshan had been complimenting Guan Rui along with everyone else. After all, they were going to be family in the future. But when he heard this, he sneered inwardly. Even better than Tingxiao when he was young. Wasn't he afraid of biting his own tongue? Lu Chongshan was disdainful, but he didn't show it on his face. Of course he's better than Tingxiao. Guan Rui waved his hands with a smile. Sigh, stop praising him. He's getting more and more ridiculous. How can he compare to Ting Xiao? If he can be half as capable as his uncle Xiao, I'll wake up laughing in my dreams. Chairman Guan, you're too modest. If this kid continues to develop like this, he'll definitely have a bright future. I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but for a family like ours, the most important thing isn't how much money we earn or how big the family business is. The most important thing is our people. Only when our children and grandchildren are capable will the family business prosper. If our children and grandchildren are not capable, then no matter how big the family business is, it won't be able to withstand a few generations of failure. That's right. That's the logic. So, old Guan is really blessed. Whether it's Xiao, Zihao or Jichen, they're all so outstanding. He doesn't need to worry about them. Isn't that right? Unlike us, we're already so old and we still have to worry about those few brats at home. This guest's words were immediately echoed by everyone. At the same time, everyone couldn't help but think of the Lu family's lack of children. Their only grandson's condition was still worrying. So what if they were the wealthiest family in the capital? No matter how capable Lu Tingxiao was, he could only last 1 or 2 generations at most. Over at the Lu family's side, there were a few powerful side branches and the elders of the company. They were all eyeing Lu Tingxiao like tigers watching their prey. If Lu Tingxiao didn't have a successor who could control the situation, then this huge family would fall into chaos. It could even collapse overnight. There were many examples like this. No one could predict how the power structure and power would be reorganized in the future. Somewhere in the banquet hall, Ningxi watched a group of people flattering the Guan family. She knew her chance had come. Mo Lingtian and the other childs were all stumped by the 13-year-old Guan Jichen's math problem and were despised by their parents. They couldn't help but feel ashamed. In the end, Mo Lingtian had no choice but to helplessly spread his hands and said, "Jichen, we are all bad students. Even if some of us studied well at that time, we have all forgotten it after so many years. Why don't you ask your aunt? She definitely knows it." Guan Jichen glanced at Guan Xiao and mumbled unwillingly, "My aunt said she had explained this question to me, but I still couldn't solve it. She was angry with me and refused to teach me." "Ah, I see." Mo Lingtian was helpless. Then, he suddenly thought of something and slapped his head. "Ah, I remember now. Your uncle Xiao definitely knows how." "Hey, where's Lu Tingxiao?" Guan Xiao glanced at Mo Lingtian and said disapprovingly, "Tingxiao is so busy. Don't bother him. Jichen really shouldn't be unable to solve this question. Let him think about it himself." "Xiao, you're too strict." "How old is Jichen?" Mo Lingtian said helplessly. Chapter 849. As for the other guests, they couldn't help but feel awe and admiration for the Guan family's way of education. This is the real elite education of a wealthy family. He is so strict with his only grandson. He is not arrogant at all. No wonder he is so excellent. "Hey, old Guan, how do you educate your children? Let's learn from you." When the guests were discussing with Guan Rui about child-rearing, a girl's clear voice suddenly came from the crowd. "Child Mo, I heard that you are looking for our first young master. What's the matter?" He went out to greet the guest. "If it's urgent, I can tell him for you." "Oh, it's nothing urgent. It's just a math problem." "Ah, ahem. You, little white rabbit. Why are you here?" Mo Lingtian lowered his voice as if he had seen a ghost when he saw the little maid who was talking to him. He almost didn't recognize this lass after she changed into such a disguise. Ningxi ignored Mo Lingtian's question and continued to act like a conscientious little maid. She glanced at the exercise in Mo Lingtian's hand and said, "This question looks quite easy. I don't think we need to call first young master. I'll ask first young master to help us. Is that okay?" "What?" Mo Lingtian looked as if he had heard it wrong. "Who did you say?" "Xiaobao." Ningxi nodded obediently. "Yes, young master Qingyu." Mo Lingtian didn't have time to ask why Ningxi was dressed like this. He kindly reminded her, Little girl, look carefully. Well, you probably can't understand it. Anyway, this is not a kindergarten math problem. It's advanced math, and it's a competition question. Child Mo, don't worry. First young master is very good. Ningxi blinked and then looked down at Xiaobao beside her. First young master, this little brother doesn't know how to solve a question. He looks worried. Can you help him? Xiaobao nodded. As soon as Ningxi appeared, Lu Chongshan frowned. After knowing what she was going to do, he felt that it was absurd. Suppressing his anger, he hurriedly stopped her. It's none of your business. Don't disturb the guests here. Take the young master somewhere else to play. Quickly go down. Seeing the maid's almost brainless behavior, the other guests looked at Lu Chongshan sympathetically. Most of them were gloating as though it had nothing to do with them. Why did the Lu family find such a muddle-headed servant to take care of the little prince? Was it because fools were easier to communicate with fools? Guan Rui and Guan Ziao secretly looked at each other. Originally, they were quite afraid of this woman, but now they didn't care about her at all. Guan Zhichen immediately felt insulted when he saw that the little maid of the Lu family actually called a child to help him and insisted that he was very capable and would definitely be able to do it. After all, he was still young and impatient, so he handed the book over in annoyance. You said that he can help me? All right, then let him try it. Guan Ziao tried to smooth things over. Zhichen, don't make a fuss. Qingyu is only 5 years old. I've made a fool of myself. Lu Chongshan had never felt so humiliated before. It's okay. It's just a little girl who didn't read the question clearly. Guan Rui said generously. Oh, this woman probably did this to please Lu Chongshan. But it turned out that a low-level girl who couldn't even understand the question still wanted to do this job. She was so stupid. However, just then, there were a few scattered exclamations in the crowd. Chapter 850. While everyone was talking, Xiao Bao wrote down a number on the exercise book that Ningxi handed over. Qingyu wrote a 0. What's the correct answer? I remember it's 0, right? That's right. It's 0. Ah. Qingyu got it right. Guan Rui, Guan Ziao, Guan Zhichen, and even Lu Chongshan were shocked. Guan Zhichen frowned. Little brother Qingyu, can't you just tell me not to scribble on the exercise book? Guan Zhichen didn't think it was a 0 at all. As for the others, including Lu Chongshan, they also thought that Xiao Bao probably wrote it casually. Ningxi looked at the answer on the exercise book and bent down. She said gently to Xiao Bao, Little young master, you can't do this. This little brother doesn't know how to solve this problem. You should write down the steps to solve the problem in detail. Only then can you help little brother. Xiao Bao blinked his eyes, glanced at Mema, and then very cooperatively buried his little head and began to scribble. As Xiao Bao wrote more and more on the exercise book, the expressions of those who were originally waiting to watch a good show changed from attentiveness to surprise, from surprise to shock, and finally to horror. Some people even couldn't help but push to the front with their eyes wide open, stretching their necks to watch, especially Mo Lingtian. His eyes widened so much that his eyeballs were almost glued to the exercise book. What? What the fuck? Is Xiao Bao possessed by Archimedes? Guan Ziao glanced at Xiao Bao from the corner of her eyes. She opened her mouth and wanted to say something several times but couldn't. She didn't dare to disturb Xiao Bao. For a moment, everyone's eyes were focused on the little figure in the middle. The air was so quiet that a pin drop could be heard. Xiao Bao's expression was one of complete concentration. He was completely immersed in his own world and wasn't disturbed by those gazes in the slightest. The pen in his little hand was like a flower as he wrote out string after string of complicated formulas. After a while, Xiao Bao finally finished writing and put down the answer, 0. He then raised his head and looked at Mama. Ningxi gave Little Bun a praising look, then bent over to take the book from Xiao Bao and handed it to Guan Zhichen with a smile. Young Master Guan, can you understand it this time? In the blank space of the book, Xiao Bao clearly wrote a series of detailed steps to solve the problem. Because Aunt Xiaoxi specially told him to write in detail, He even pointed out a few places with arrows and wrote supplementary statements in brackets. He was teaching Guanxichan as a kindergartner. Soon, the exercise book was spread around by the guests who couldn't wait to see what was going on. Because Xiao Bao's problem-solving steps were so detailed that even the flunkies could understand it. They praised him on the spot. Fuck. Amazing. Even a trash like me could understand it. I thought that I couldn't even compare to a 13-year-old child, but reality has proven me wrong. I can't even compare to a 5-year-old child. And this problem-solving technique is so brilliant. It shouldn't be a conventional method, right? Miss Guan, what do you think? Is this problem solved correctly? Guan Xiao looked at the exercise book and then at the cute little fellow in Ningxi's hand. She was so surprised that she said with some difficulty, completely correct. And every step is very rigorous and perfect, without the slightest flaw. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.